Hello, and first up we're going to review Before Watchmen, Minutemen, issue 6, the last of this mini-series. And this is, for me, definitely, this along with the Silk Spectre mini-series have been the two best books in the whole Before Watchmen series. As I said, this concludes this series. Last time we found out that it was Hooded Justice who's behind all the child murders. So the story kicks off with Night Owl, and he saved that kid, managed to find and free that kid. So he's been honoured by the city, and he's got like the key to the city, but he needs to bring Hooded Justice to, well, justice. So off he goes to try and he teams up with Mothman, and they go and see Nelson, who the former Captain Metropolis, who was of course Hooded Justice's boyfriend, and he sort of asks him, it's like, well, where would he be hiding? And he says, I don't know, the only other place I ever seen was the tower. So they go back to the tower, which used to be the base of the Minutemen, and they go there and they find Hooded Justice and they have a fight, and it sort of ends up with Night Owl killing Hooded Justice, which is a big twist, because in the whole Watchmen book it was always sort of rumoured, speculated that it was the comedian that had killed Hooded Justice, but no, it was Night Owl. So then life goes back to normal, and you know, and we sort of get the flashback of as the years go by, and it's a really nice book, and then it sort of ends on you know, Night Owl has retired now. He's got his garage, and he's retired, and he's living the good life, and he's going to publish his book. And the comedian visits him, and the comedian is like, well, you know, there's some people don't want you publishing what you want published, because the truth is always subjective. So he then gives a big revelation, gives Hollis Mason, Night Owl, a version of events that happened from a different perspective, and we get this one big revelation, and Night Owl is just shocked to the core, and as the reader you are shocked to the core. It's a fantastic conclusion to the book. Then it rounds everything out, and it ends it really nice. Darwyn Cooke has done a brilliant job. The two best Before Watchmen books are Darwyn Cooke books, and this book is right up there. Again, it's a fantastic issue, really good. The art, again by Darwyn Cooke, is really evocative of a vintage era, and really works well for the book. And just the story, you get so engrossed in it. It is just brilliant. It's well worth checking out. You know, you may be able to track down all 6 issues of this, because it's well worth digging out. Even if you've not read The Watchmen, you don't need to know Watchmen. This is a good story on its own. The ending was just, I thought, really well done, and I was really satisfied with this. And this ran close this week. This was almost my pick of the week, but even so, even though it's not my pick of the week, it's still a great book. The art, before I give you my star rating, I really love the art by Darwyn Cooke. I think it really works and suits like that kind of vintage era, and it works really well. And yeah, I really like this book. I really recommend it, and I'm going to give it 5 stars. Next up we have Red Hood and the Outlaws, and apparently this is a Death in the Family tie-in comic. Unfortunately, reading it, you wouldn't know that. And if it didn't have this title here, you wouldn't know that, because you get like 1 page of Joker at the end, and that doesn't give us anything new. So it's a bit of a rip-off by calling it a Death of the Family. And if you're only interested in getting Death of the Family tie-ins, you can miss this one. There's nothing in here. You don't see Red Hood in here, you don't see Red Robin. You get a page of Joker, and that's it. So if you are only going to buy this book because it's a tie-in, avoid it. You don't need to get it. Other than that, though, I enjoyed this book. When I saw Teen Titans were going to be in it, I was like, oh my god. This is what one of the problems with Scott Lobdell. I know when I used to get Superboy, I don't like Teen Titans, not the current batch. I like the old Teen Titans, I don't like this Teen Titans. And I don't want to read a Teen Titan comic. And I remember when I used to buy Superboy, there used to be a lot of crossover with Teen Titans, so I dropped Superboy, because I don't want to read Teen Titans. And it seems like he's doing it in here now, but issue 19, James Tynion the fourth, Tynion or Tynan, I don't know how you pronounce it, but he's going to be working on this book then. Scott Dell's leaving it. Partly, yeah, I'm a bit, you know, he's been with it since the first issue, he's done a good job on this book, but at the same time, if James Tynion taking over means there's going to be no crossovers with Teen Titans, I'm all for it. And James Tynion, to be fair, he's a really good writer, so I'm interested to see what he does with this book. But getting back to this issue, I love that cover. That's going to be one of my favourite covers of the week. That's really a really cool cover. Inside, though, the story's alright. Once you get past the whole rip-off of No Death of the Family tie-in, the actual story's alright. You've got the Teen Titans, Arsenal, and Starfire, and these tramps, these homeless people, have been infected with this Joker serum that's turned them into Jokers. And they're going to like try and kill our heroes. So Arsenal comes up with a plan, and they trap these people inside this barn, and they get this cure, and to try and cure them. But they've got a time limit, because if they don't get it in time, it might be too late to help these people. So, and of course, it ain't going to be with Joker. It's not going to be so simple that you can just go and get the cure. Joker's going to have this thought out. We get a Strange page where we meet this character called Hugo Strange, who I don't know who he is, but he's signing a book, so I don't know if he's a character who's been in it before, or if he's a character coming up in the future, but we get a bit with him. We also see a villain who may be the next storyline for the Red Hood and the Outlaws that's going to come hunt them, so that looked exciting. I was excited about that. I won't spoil who the villain is, but that. And then the last page is just, you know, Joker with Red Hood, but we don't really see Red Hood. So yeah, the story was alright, you know, it wasn't nothing special. It really brings to the fore Arsenal as a leader, which I did like that. And we got a lot of internal monologue from, and it was sort of shown through Roy Harper's eyes, and I did like that. And the Titans weren't as annoying as they can be in here. And the story was pretty decent. The art sucked. It just looked really lazy at times. You know, just the way the figures were drawn, I didn't like it at all. You know, like that picture there. I didn't like a lot of the art in this. It just looked sloppy, and I didn't care for it. Is this Hugo Strange character? I don't know who he is, but I don't know if he's somebody in the future or what, but all in all, you know, yeah, I wasn't overly keen on the art. But like I said, the story was decent. But it really left a sour note that there's no really Death of the Family tie in here, and I think I would have to give this book 3 stars. Next up, Hell on Earth continues in Supergirl, issue 16. And the first thing I want to say about this whole crossover, I've enjoyed it. But if I'd have known it was going to be 5 months, I probably wouldn't have jumped on board. I thought, you know, the original adverts were for 3 months. And I thought, yeah, I can afford to pick up 2 extra titles for 3 months. I can do that. But then they've just had a new advert in the comics that it's going to carry on for 2 more months, this month and next month, and then it's going to finish. And I don't know if I'd have jumped on board if I'd have known it had been that long. That's very naughty of you, DC. You're doing things like that too often, and it's very naughty. This issue, not that really important in the whole thing. If you were short on cash, you could miss this one, and you wouldn't miss nothing from the Hell on Earth storyline. The basic premise of this issue is the Justice League are trying to take back the Fortress of Solitude from Hal and Supergirl, who are building a weapon. that is going to take energy from our sun, so that Hal can travel back in time and save Krypton from being destroyed, but it will destroy our solar system. Now, a thing I couldn't recall is, does Supergirl know that he's going to suck the energy out of the sun, or does she just think he's got away but she doesn't quite know how? I couldn't remember. Does she know? Because that's pretty bad. If you're going to say, yeah, let them destroy this planet as long as Krypton comes back, that's fine. That's pretty bad. But I can't recall Hal ever saying to Supergirl, yeah, we're going to, you know, he's been stringing her along and manipulating her, so I don't think he's given her the whole truth on that. So maybe that's a plot point we're going to see in the future. But getting back onto this issue, the premise is that Flash is going to take out Supergirl. That's the whole premise. That's his mission. Because he's going to use his ability to vibrate and move through solid objects as a way to take out Supergirl. So he goes in, he tries to talk to Supergirl, but she won't listen. So they end up fighting. They have fisticuffs. Flash then vibrates, tries to take her outside, but they end up in this zoo. They have to team up to get out of the zoo, because they've got all these wild animals just like thinking, oh, it's feeding time. So they've got to team up, get out. They then run into a creature that knows Supergirl and who's happy to see her. Flash uses that distraction to go and get these weapons that were able to take out Supergirl, that were able to like make her unconscious so he can get her out of the Fortress of Solitude. But what is that going to work or not? So yeah, that's pretty much what happens, and it doesn't really advance the whole Alan Arth story. It doesn't move it forward at all. It's just like a side story with Supergirl to give Supergirl something to do, and really you could miss it, and you wouldn't really miss anything to do with it. The art I didn't like at all. To me it was the proportions. You know, it was you know, you look at like the way, and sometimes the way he had the figures positioned looked unnatural. I did like there's this scene where he lays out the fight scene, which I did really like the way they laid out the fight scene there. I thought that was good, but I wasn't really feeling the art. I'm trying to look for a picture. There's a couple of pictures that I really want to show you. Here, if you look, yeah, there, Flash running looks really unnatural. Looks like he's like an emu or ostrich or something. And the other one is when he gets the weapons, which I don't know if it's because the weapons are taken at his hands that it makes him look funny, but it just the proportions of his body just look odd there. So yeah, I wasn't keen on the art. The story was and it really doesn't really push anything on. I think I'm going to give Supergirl 2 stars. And Hal on Earth continues into Superboy Annual #1, and I don't know what happened this week. I actually enjoyed Superboy a lot more than Supergirl. Superboy is usually the weaker of the 3 books, and this month it's actually pretty good. I enjoyed last week's issue, and again, the thing I really enjoyed here is the relationship between Superman and Superboy. They're sort of developing this like big brother, little brother relationship, which I really like, and I'm hoping that after this whole Hal on Earth that they continue to have a close relationship, because I think that could be something nice to explore in both the books, you know. I think that would definitely take Superboy in an interesting direction. Yeah, and I'd be fully supportive of that. This issue, basically, we saw last week in Superboy that Superboy and Superman got trapped inside this device that was in the Fortress of Solitude that got activated, and Superman saved Superboy, so Superboy went in to save Superman, and they're both inside this kind of device, and we find out as the story goes on where they are. At first it's very strange, and it really alters their perceptions, and then it sort of becomes into something that they sort of recognise, but they feel that they're being manipulated. They kind of have time to sort of tell each other a bit about each other and to bond a bit more. but then there's dangers and they have to fight their way through, and really Superboy really comes to the forefront here, and his powers really help save the day in this story. You know, it's very much a Superboy centric story, that where he comes to the forefront, and even though he's with Superman, that it's Superboy who saves the day. I enjoyed the story. I thought it was pretty an enjoyable story. Like I say, I'm loving the interaction and the relationship between Superman and Superboy. The art, they had multiple artists. You had about 4 artists on this book, so the art isn't bad, but I hate it when you just have randomly 4 artists. Sometimes, you know, books will, like, they'll have, oh, for flashback scenes we're going to have a different artist, or for scenes with these characters we're going to have one artist, and for scenes with these characters we're going to have another artist, and those sort of things work. But when it's like the same bit through the book but different artists, I found it really jarring, and that really, I think that really hurt the book. So, you know, as we go through the book, you'll see the art will change because of the different artists, and there are some good pages and there's some good panels in this book, but I just, like I say, having 4 artists, I just really think hurts the book. This is probably my favourite 2 pages of the whole book. This is where they find the villains behind the trap that they're in, and the story really concludes nicely. I did like the latter half of the book, which I'm not sure who done that. But yeah, all in all, I enjoyed this one. I thought it was pretty good, a pretty good story. Again, I think it's a more important story than the one that went on in Supergirl, because it shows how they got out the trap that they got put in last week. So in that respect, it is important. But in the other respect, it hasn't really driven the story on anymore. Though I enjoyed this one, like I say, I didn't like the art. So I think I will give this one 4 stars. Next up we have Green Lantern issue 16, and it continues the rise of the Third Army. I bought the variant cover, which opens up sideways to have, that's the original cover, but it's not been coloured in, and I liked that. It's got Simon Baz, our new Green Lantern, with the Third Army behind him. Last issue, the Third Army, they came after Simon Baz, but that Squirrel Green Lantern turned up. Oh, excuse me, whose name I cannot pronounce, but he turns up, and you know, this issue he kind of acts like a mentor to Simon Baz, and they manage to find his power battery. He recharges his ring, learns how to do that, and what he has to say to make it work. He then manages to decipher the message that was left in the ring by Hal Jordan and Sinestro. So he has an idea now what's going on. The Squirrel tells him, look, you know, the ring can do anything you will it to. We need to go and find Guy Gardner and sort of decide what we're going to do. So they're going to do that, but first Baz wants to go to the hospital. He visits his brother-in-law, who he still blames himself for his brother-in-law being in the coma, and he's going to will his brother to come out of the coma. And the Squirrel sort of says, look, it's not going to work, but you know, so many of us have had to learn this the hard way, but it doesn't work as much as you want it to, it won't. But Simon Baz manages to do it. He manages to use the ring to bring his brother back, to make him wake up. He doesn't bring him back from the dead, he's just in a coma, so he just manages to heal him or do whatever he needs to get done to make him wake up. And the other Green Lantern is shocked. He's like, this shouldn't happen. And he's like, maybe there's more to why the ring picked you than we know. And so that sort of ends all happy, and Simon Baz is going to go off with the Squirrel to like try and find Guy Gardner, which that's going to be in Green Lantern Corps, which also came out this week. We then, the end of the issue sort of shows us a little bit more the fate of Sinestro and Hal Jordan as they run into a familiar face. They're dead, but it's Def Jim, but not as we know it. And we get a little echo there of what's going to happen to them. All in all, this was a fantastic issue. Geoff Johns has done a brilliant job introducing the new Green Lantern. He's made him an immensely likeable character, and a character that already I really care about. And I hope he's not going to be just a short-term addition to the book, because I really like Simon Baz, and I'm just really enjoying the heck out of this book. The only letdown is like the whole Rise of the Third Army thing. It's kind of still going on in the background. It's not really come to the forefront. The main bit at the front of the book is Simon Baz becoming a Green Lantern and learning about his ring, and us learning a bit more about him. So the Third Army thing hasn't really been happening in this book, but so that's been a bit of a wet one, hasn't it? But all in all, though, I enjoyed the book. The art, as always, is great. I really liked our art in this book, and I'm trying to find some double page spreads, but I can't find them all. So here we are in our spill. I did like our Scribble Green Lantern, but for the life of me I cannot pronounce his name. But yeah. But all in all, this was a really strong issue, and I'm definitely going to give it 5 stars. Well, DC got me this week. I wasn't going to pick this one up, but after reading Green Lantern, I wanted to see what happened in this next bit of the story. So I went along and back to my comic book shop and got Green Lantern Corps issue 16. And this is the first meeting between Simon Baz and Guy Gardner. Now, I haven't been reading this book, so some of the book it took me by a bit of surprise. I didn't really understand what was going on. For some reason, Guy Gardner hasn't got his ring anymore. He's been kicked out of the Green Lanterns, but he's also been arrested by police on Earth, and he's in prison. And he starts with his brother and sister trying to get him to talk about what happened. Then the Third Army attack, because the Guardians have ordered them to take out Guy Gardner. So the Third Army attack, and they're converting people in the prison, and Guy talks the police into letting him go, and they uncuff him, and they go to the armory, and they're going to guard themselves. And things are looking pretty bleak when Simon Baz turns up with the Squirrel Green Lantern. Also in this issue, we're seeing John Stewart with a pink lantern, and they're after some aliens. And Mongo, which I believe Mongo was the Green Lantern that was a planet, and they've kind of crushed up Mongo, and they're using his power or something. These aliens are. So John Stewart is trying to stop these ones. How this all ties into the Third Army, I don't know. But so that's basically the kind of the gist of the story. I was a bit lost with this. I didn't really understand a lot because I hadn't been reading it. I liked the interaction between the Green Lanterns, between Guy Gardner and between Simon Baz. They're biting back at each other, and like Simon Baz is not your regular type of Green Lantern. He's not going to take Guy Gardner's crap or be polite, So I like that. I like that a lot. And I really liked Guy Gardner in here. They made him into a bit of a badass, and I liked that, and I liked the fight in the prison with the Third Army. I thought that was really good. I was a bit confused with some of the story points, but that's probably just because I've not been reading it. The art on a whole, I would say, is good. I enjoyed the art. We start off here in prison with Guy Gardner looking pretty down. Then all hell breaks loose. This is Off-World with our other Green Lantern. Here our Green Lanterns turn up. They end it on a nice cliffhanger for the annual, because this is going to continue into the annual, which comes out next week, which is apparently going to be the conclusion. The whole Third Army thing, I feel, has been a bit of a damp squid. Certainly in the book that I read, Green Lantern, it hasn't been featured much, but it feels like it may have been featured a lot more in here, as Guy Gardner knew who the Third Army were. So I feel it's been featured here, but before maybe the Third Army stuff's been going in books that I've not been reading. But I enjoyed this one, and I think I would definitely give it 4 stars. So next up, my pick of the week, and it is Justice League issue 16. It's funny with this book, I was going to drop it. Issue 14, that was it, I was done. I wasn't going to buy this book again. Then I heard people saying, oh, 15 was good. So I tried out issue 15, loved it. I think it was probably the best issue to date. And this issue is even better. You know, that story, this features part 3 of the Throne of Atlantis. Part 2 was in Aquaman, Part 1 was the last issue of Justice League, and it is brilliant. I absolutely love this book. Aquaman is trying to play both sides. What's happened is somebody has launched missiles at Atlantis. So Atlantis is attacking the surface world. So the surface world are attacking back, you know. So Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, they want to take down, they want to bring in Orm, King of Atlantis, Aquaman's brother, in for questioning, to stand trial for all the people that have died in Gotham and Metropolis with all these waters coming up. But Orm is like, he's had enough. You know, like, they've polluted our seas for more, he says at one stage to Aquaman. He said they've polluted our seas for years, and now they attack us. We're not going to stand back and take this. Which, you know, I found myself reading the story being more sympathetic to Atlantis rather than the Justice League, because, you know, if somebody launched missiles at you and had polluted your land, you ain't gonna like take that. But instead of asking the bigger question, well, who fired the missiles, you know, Justice League are like, well, you've attacked us. You've attacked us, and you've got to be answerable for that. So they're all locked in that each side has to answer for what's happened. Where if they sat and talked, then they'd see that, well, somebody's manipulating them because somebody fired those rockets. But that's life, isn't it? That's how these wars start. So Aquaman's trying to calm both sides, but both sides aren't listening, which is brilliant, and it just leads to this big fight and this big smackdown, and that's most of the issue. We've also got the side thing of Cyborg and Volcro upon the Watchtower. Cyborg has to go and save Professor Shin, because he's the guy that the Atlantis is going to go for next. He manages to get Shin, and then he goes back because he needs to help the Justice League. They need reinforcements, but he can't go in the water. So he goes back to his dad to sort of ask him, look, Dad, can you upgrade me? But it will mean losing his one lung that he's got left. But the time it's going to take, it's not going to be quick enough, and that sort of leads us to a really big cliffhanger ending, which is brilliant. It made me super psyched for the next issue. And we also, what I liked is there was this one, Cyborg's dad was talking to this one Professor Magnus, whose name was familiar, I believe from past, but we also mentioned, I think it was Professor Morrow in the Minutemen. So like, there's a couple of characters there that all sound very familiar, which looks likely we could be seeing sooner than later in the New 52. But this book was just brilliant. The backup, once again, Shazam, was really good. We get to see Shazam versus Black Adam, which was excellent. And while meanwhile, the seven sin, they're trying to wake up the seven deadly sins. So like that's going on in the background, and the main thing was Shazam versus Black Adam, which I loved. This book was just a pure joy, and it was what I wanted from a Justice League comic. The art in the main book in the main story is Ivan Reis, whose work I've been loving on Aquaman. Now we get to see him draw the Justice League, and he does a fantastic job. There are some great pages in here. Is where Atlantis attacks. You know, and there's this Superman just loses it. There's some really great moments in this, as just everything just seems to keep escalating. Aquaman's trying to save the day, but everything just keeps escalating and escalating. We then have the backup, which is illustrated by Gary Frank, whose art I really like and works really well here. So that was really good. Billy Batson, this is the first time since he became Shazam that he's really like over his head. Here he's really over his head with Black Adam. He doesn't really know all of his powers yet, and he's going to fight somebody who's got mastery over theirs. This is a fantastic issue. If you've given up on Justice League, jump back on board. You won't regret it. The last two issues have been fantastic. What we wanted from the start, and I'm loving this book. It's my pick of the week, and it gets a definite 5 stars. Next up we have Bedlam, issue 3, and I've been loving this book. The first issue I really liked, second issue went in a different direction which I enjoyed, and this issue, for the first time, I'm starting to care about our protagonist, and I'm really want to make sure he's going to be okay. And before, because he was so deranged, I kind of had no sympathy with him or had no empathy. This issue, he's done so well now that I really care about our hero. Basically, it's about a character. This book is about a guy called Fillmore Press, I think his name is. I think his name's Fillmore Press. I bet you I can't find it. No, it's always Fillmore Press, right? His name's Fillmore Press. He used to be a serial killer called Madder Red, but this mysterious hospital took him in and they cut parts of his brain out. So now he's good, and he wants to do good. He wants to make up to society. It's 10 years later. He's returned to the town of Bedlam, where he did most of his crimes, and just put under terror. It's 10 years later, and he's trying to be good now, but the only thing he knows how to do is be a serial killer. So he wants to help the police track serial killers. The problem is he's still a bit mental in the head, and his way of going about it isn't the best way, and the police now think that he's the serial killer he's trying to help them catch. So at the end of the last issue, he handed himself in, confessing to this serial killing. So the police think they've got their case, and he wants to see their files, and they let him because they think he's going to own up to all these other murders he's done. He sees the body, he names more files that are in line with this serial killer, and why the serial killer has been doing this. And I really liked that whole thing as he's deciphering it, but they've sort of took it that he's done these, and he's like, we come to a point where the realization, well, wait a minute, no, I'm helping you try and catch this guy, it wasn't me, and they don't believe him. They now think that he's a nut job and he's done these murders. And it leads to, again, a fantastic end and a fantastic conclusion. And this is just an all-round great book. I'm really loving it. The art, you know, it starts off with this flashback scene to him in the hospital, which is really funny, in a dark kind of way. And then when we get to the modern day, the art style is just really different, but I really like it. I think it really works for this book. Every issue we always have that, you know, this is chapter 3. We always have that picture for each chapter, which is cool. Most of the scenes are like him and the one policewoman. and he's like kind of piecing together how the serial killer's done his things and everything, which is really interesting, and I really enjoyed. And you know, yeah, I really liked it. I really like this book. Definitely recommend it. Just a great book. Again, another Image book that's different to anything else out there, but I really enjoyed it, and I give it a definite 5 stars. So next up we got issue 3 of FF, and I'm really loving this book. Basically, this character on the front cover showed up last issue, told us the Fantastic Four are dead. This issue we find out this is the Human Torch from the future, and the other members of the Fantastic Four are dead. That somehow Doctor Doom, Kang, and Annihilus, oh I can't pronounce his name, they've combined to one form, and basically the Fantastic Four died fighting him, and Johnny Storm's come to Earth but destroyed his only way of getting there. So like now, you know, Ant-Man wants Medusa to verify that this guy is who he is. The Moloids have disappeared, and he wants She-Hulk to find where they are. And then meanwhile, Ant-Man is going to talk Darla in coming back to the team. So he goes off after Darla, and the Yancey Street gang, they play some prank on Darla, and so he and Darla are trying to catch the Yancey Kid gang, street gang, as he's trying to talk her into rejoining the team. Medusa's going through all what she needs to get done to sort of verify that this is Johnny Storm, and while we get to see what our Moloids are doing, and there's a little bit of a revelation there with the Moloids and why the Mole Man attacked last issue. There is a connection which I really liked. I'm enjoying this book. I think it's a great read. It's a nice fun read. The tone by Matt Fraction is really nice, a nice kind of fun sort of tone, and I'm enjoying the book a lot. It's a nice, light, enjoyable book. The art by Mike Aldred, I'd not seen none of his art before reading this book, but it's really growing on me, and I really like, I really do like the art style. I think it works really well. And it's just all round, it really works for the book well, and the layout of the different panels I liked. But all in all, it's a really fun book, a really good read, and I'm having a great blast with this one. I'm going to keep getting it, and I give it 5 stars. Next up we have Wolverine and the X-Men issue 24, and this issue is the date issue. As you can see from the cover, Wolverine and Storm hook up, and there is a lot of romance in this issue. We see Idie visiting Brew, as she wants to, you know, she's trying to get him to come out of his coma, you know. So we've got that. That was a bit like that was sad, and some nice moments there. Iceman and Kitty go on their first date, and that doesn't quite go as they'd like. And then also Wolverine has to look after the kids, and you know, Wolverine, he can go and he can backle any monster you want, any villain you want, do any mission you want, and he'll show no fear. Looking after a school full of kids for one evening, the guy is terrified like you've never seen him terrified before. So Storm is trying to like calm him down, and you know, and then this whole romance sort of thing sort of hinted at that they've got a past. Earlier in the issue we see Storm and T'Challa talking, and T'Challa says, look, you know, you're free to be with who you want now, but please don't let it be him. And you presume the him he's talking about is Wolverine. But like, and then later on, Wolverine and Storm are together and they're talking, because Wolverine's all panicking that he's got to look after these kids, and they're sort of like talking, and she sort of hints at they've had past dalliances, if that's the word. That they have been to Funky Town together a few times in the Danger Room. That's kind of hinted at, or maybe it's just my perverted mind. I'm reading sentences in a different way, but that's kind of what's hinted at here, that they've been intimate in the past, and sort of like that. I don't know. I don't ever recall them being a pair in the past. Granted, I haven't read loads of X-Men, but I never recall that. I could be wrong, but it did feel like it come out of left field. But then, so like, yeah, you've got there, and then at the end, we get a shock at the end as well. With Boo, he wakes up, but or does he? But yeah, all in all, this was really good issue. I enjoyed it. It was a nice, fun issue to read. Even if the only gripe I've got is that whole Storm Wolverine thing does feel like it's come out of left field. The art here, I really liked. It's a different artist, I'm sure it is, but I did really like the art. We get a good look at the new Beast. Jean Grey pops up in here as well, which is cool. That they're acknowledging that. But yeah, all in all, I enjoyed this one. Like I said, my only gripe would be that it did feel like it come out of left field. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. I got nothing bad to say about it. It was another great issue, and I give it 5 stars. The penultimate comic I review this week is Batwoman, issue 16. And at last, we're coming to the conclusion of this story. Batwoman and Wonder Woman have found out that Medusa isn't an organisation, it's the Medusa of mythology. And they went hunting for Medusa but found she was in Gotham all along. So they've returned to Gotham, but Medusa now has unleashed the Hydra on Gotham. So Wonder Woman and Batwoman sort of have to team up to try and defeat the Hydra and Medusa, while everybody else in Gotham is fighting. We get to see all our characters we've been following here, all sort of come to the forefront to fight the battle. We were showing each character, and each character gives an internal monologue, which I didn't really like. It felt a bit jarring because you were jumping around between characters. It seemed to disrupt the flow of the story. As always with J.H. Williams, the art is spectacular. There is nobody who illustrates a book like J.H. Williams III. It is just awesome. It is really, really special when you open the book and you see the art. And what I think the DC do, because so much of his book is double panels, is double page spreads, sorry, that they put all the adverts in the back, which I really like. I know the logic might be, oh, we'll have it through the comic, but I seem to take more notice of adverts when they're at the back, because if they're in the comic, I'm reading the comic, I'm not paying attention to the adverts. It may later when I'm flicking through it maybe, but when I'm reading that book, I ain't paying no attention to the adverts. Well, when they're at the back, I've finished the book by then, so I'll flick through the adverts slowly. Think, oh yeah, I'll get that one, I'll get that one. Oh my god, they're bringing that out. So, you know, I take more notice of them. So I think I personally like that, the whole thing of having the adverts at the back. But yeah, this was a good issue. Like I say, it felt a bit jarring to me, jumping from character to character. But other than that, it was really great. As you can see, the art is just spectacular. J.H. Williams is a true master. I really, really love his art style and the layout and everything. It is fantastic. And the story does feel, now that we are coming to the conclusion, as you know, we're getting to get to the final big bad. But this was a good issue. Like I say, the bit jarring with the thing, with the jumping around, with the monologues. But other than that, I'd give it 4 stars. And finally, we have issue 3 of The Avengers, and this concludes our initial storyline. Some of the Avengers have been captured on Mars by these 3 aliens who are going to wipe out life on Earth and restart it. And they're creating their own Adam, who's going to, be on the Earth and going to restart things, and they're going to try and improve on humanity. And they apparently go do this all over the universe. Captain America was the only one who was let go, and he's put a new, bigger, better team of Avengers together to go and rescue the original team. And sort of that's what this is the rescue mission. And it starts off with Cap, I think it's Smasher and Hyperion, and they sort of engage the enemy, if you will. And then Manifold brings the other characters into the fray, and we have this big smackdown, and then the shock conclusion. And that really, I liked it. It wasn't just, oh, we're going to beat them into submission and win the day. No, there's a nice little twist here, and it builds nicely the mystery surrounding one character, and I liked that a lot. The end, there's enough threads been left. The fight gave you, an opportunity to look at some of the characters, and while we showed characters that we know, like the Falcon and Wolverine and Spider-Man, but it also let characters like Smasher and Hyperion and Captain Universe come to the forefront and let us learn a little bit more about them, which I liked. I liked that a lot. But all in all, this was just a very good issue, excellent issue in fact. I really loved this. If this is just a hint of what Hickman's going to do with the Avengers, it's going to be a very, very special run. The story felt epic. I've known big events that have felt less epic than this. It was fantastic. The art, as always, was brilliant. I know last time I complained about the art. Opinia, it seemed to be a curiosity of his style, that he does the pointy nose, which I wasn't too keen on, but it didn't bother me this issue. I felt the art was really good. There was a problem with Captain America, but it seems to be everybody who draws a Marvel comic has been having a problem drawing Captain America since they changed his outfit. I don't know why, but they just seem not to be able to get the helmet right. But all in all, though, I thought the art in this one was very good. I thought it was coloured beautifully. And it was just, the book was just a joy all the way through. Here you can see Cap. I just don't think he looks right, especially there. And it's the only character in the book that really Opinia doesn't get. Every other character, he gets spot on perfect. It was just Captain America that he didn't quite get. But yeah, it was great. It was action-packed, but it was also a nice, I liked the ending. It was a nice different way to end a fight, and I'm loving this book, and I definitely give it 5 stars.